Welcome, everyone, once again to Tim's Final Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and once again, I'm joined by Chez. How are
Hey
you
Tim,
doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited for this one.
Yeah, this is fun. I like it when I can talk about bands that I've been into for a long, long time, and I've literally been into this band since I heard the very first single that came out. And unfortunately, they don't come out with a lot of new music, or so it
Yep.
seems. So I don't have a chance to talk to them about them as much as I'd like. So we are talking about one of my favorite Canadian bands, Honeymoon Suite, and we're going to be talking about a recent reissue that's just come out. But first, Chez, I'd like to get your background as an HMS fan. When did you get into them from the start, or how did you go back with them?
Right from the beginning. So I'm in Ontario. We're a border town with Michigan, so we got all the Detroit rock stations, and they were getting heavy airplay in the States. So when New Girl came out, like the States were all over that rock radio stations I was listening to. Loved it from the beginning, and I was with them right from the beginning. I had their first three albums on cassette, played them tons. Of course, Much Music, the videos were always on, and I've always been a fan and kind of followed them through. And like you said, not much new music lately. We got that EP a little while ago. But yeah, I've been a fan right from the beginning, and just great melodic hard rock, and one of our own here from Canada. So really excited to talk about this reissue today.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I remember seeing the video for New Girl Now, and thought it was a funny video and a cool song. And then Burning in Love came out, and I love that. That's still one of my favorites. And Stay in the Light, Wave Babies, like every song that came out. I wasn't even buying music back then, but just as a young like radio listener and video watcher, I liked every song that they came out with. And Big Prize came out, Feel It Again. That hook, that was just total like, hook, line, and sinker. And was really, really rooting for them when Racing After Midnight came out. Hope that was the big American breakthrough. Didn't really happen. They did okay, and they did get some airplay, and they had some songs that that charted in the States. Unfortunately, they never got. I think they should have been huge. I thought they had all the ingredients of a worldwide
Interesting.
international band.
Just this past week, so I have the satellite radio Sirius, and on the Hair Nation, just last week, they put New Girl Now into the rotation, and I hadn't heard that. Like they kind of switched their songs around, and now coincidentally they're playing Honeymoon Suite on the Hair Station. So I thought that was pretty cool, and maybe pick up a little steam there, and people will start discovering it. But yeah, fantastic. Never got their due, of course, here in Canada, but yeah, it should have been bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, those first three albums are all multi-platinum in Canada, and I think the singles were platinum. And people here in Canada that grew up in the '80s, we know Honeymoon Suite.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if the majority of people realize that they kept releasing music. I mean, Monsters Under the Bed's an amazing album. It came out.
Love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a long, long period where they didn't put anything out. Around 2001, 2002, it's kind of confusing because some territories got an album called Dreamland, and then some territories got an album called Lemon Tongue, which have a lot of songs in common, but not like there's some overlap, and then there's some songs that are only you got to get both releases to get all the songs. And I really struggled with that one because I compare that to me, that's their slang. They were trying something different, and but at this point it was just Johnny D, Derry Green left of the original band, and it's not bad. And there's a couple songs on it I've seen them do live, like Gone and Undone, that I think are pretty good. But in 2008, something very cool happened. They came out with a new album called Clifton Hill.
Yeah.
And so this is I remember reading about this on melodicrock.com. I heard a sampling of the first single from it called Tired of Waiting on You. I thought it was fantastic. I thought this is Honeymoon Suite. This is the Honeymoon Suite that I remember. And so I pre-ordered the album and I got it. And actually, when I was working on air in radio, I actually played Tired of Waiting on You. I snuck that in a few times just because I was so behind it. Yeah, it was
That,
great.
that's exactly where I heard that was coming out, was that melodic rock website. I used to be on that all the time. So same situation. That's where I heard that was
Yeah,
coming out. I had the same reaction. Yeah.
yeah. It was fantastic. Now my copy's signed from when I saw them in 2016. It's hard for me to make up. Well, that's Gary Lalonde. There's Peter Nunn, and I think that's Derry Grand's signature. Johnny wasn't doing the meet and greet. He went. He left the stage as soon as they were done playing. That was a great show. It was Helix opened, and then Honeymoon. So it was great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I listened to this a lot, and at that point, they put it out themselves. It was on Frontiers in some parts of the world. The copy I have is on Koch, Koch Entertainment. The only other thing I have on that label is the Twisted Sister Christmas album. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Twisted Christmas. But love this album. And of course, it only came out on CD. And since then, the next thing that came out, the only other thing was you mentioned it, was the Hands Up EP.
Yeah,
and that came out
Yeah.
tail end of 2016.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I mean, it has 7 new songs and a couple live songs. I think this was a Pledge Music. This before Pledge Music went under. I think it was Pledge Music.
Yeah, interesting. My copy, I found that in my local Sunrise, because I was disappointed. I missed out on that because like you said, it was a Pledge Music, and I think Rock Paper Merch was carrying it at one point. But then I found it in a Sunrise. I was shocked it was there. And of course, I got it right away. It's like, well, I'm taking this. I'm buying this one right there. So I kind of got lucky on that one. Yeah. Great stuff. They're all good songs. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that was a continuation of the sound they had on Clifton Hill. I remember, one of the things that you could pledge for was a vinyl version of it, but it was, I can't remember how much it was. It was expensive. And there was a little bit of sticker shock, and I thought, I'm just going to stick with the CD. Of course, now I wish I'd have bought the vinyl, because it's never going to come out. It probably won't come out again on vinyl. And
same here. Yeah,
the price of it's only going to go up, because all you're going to get are the used copies that somebody might be selling. But anyway, great EP. Sean Kelly co-wrote a lot of the songs. It's just that classic. Actually, he co-wrote all the songs, so they're all like Johnny, Derry, and Sean. Yeah, really good. And I don't know why, but they put out new singles, and there's supposed to be a new album. I don't know what the holdup is. Be first in line to buy that when it comes out. But
I'm ready.
What they have come out with, they announced deluxe, like a reissue of Clifton Hill, which they called Clifton Hill Revisited. And Chez and I both have our copies here, both signed. Both signed by Derry and Johnny. Now, when I first looked at it, I'm like, why is it only Derry and Johnny that signed it? And then I thought back. Okay, so if you look in the credits to Clifton Hill, Gary and Dave. So Gary Lalonde, bass, Dave Betts, drummer. They didn't play on Clifton Hill.
Right.
They've been back in the band since 2008, but they didn't play on it. It was I should know right off the top of my head who actually did play on it. Bass, Stan Mizek. I'm not sure. Chris McNeil on drums. I think it was a scheduling thing.
Yeah.
And then Ray Coburn on keyboard. So Ray was back in the band. It was when I saw them in 2008, it was the original lineup back together again.
Yeah. They got together right around that time. They all got back in together. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember them saying that they did have an album coming out that year, because I saw them earlier in the year. They were great. I've seen them 3 times. They're always great. But Ray, of course, has since left the band. So it makes sense that Johnny and Derry are the only signatures on here. And if you want to hold the record up again, Chez, you'll see that the signatures are in different spots. Now, Derry's signature looks to be in about the same spot over top of the traffic light, but Johnny's is in a different spot. It's got a different angle to it.
Yeah, I can see that now. We're looking at yours. Yeah.
So there's a slightly different. It's called Clifton Hill Revisited. They have changed the colors up a little bit, like the color of the album title, just ever so slightly. They added some yellow. Other than that, it's the same cover. And of course, this is this is a picture from Niagara Falls. If you look inside I think it's the inner sleeve of their first album, I think you'll see this section here.
Yeah, this is a part that I recognized. Yeah, from that original album. Yeah.
And if you watch the video for Burning in Love, at the end of Johnny D's running like down like the sidewalk, he runs past these Niagara Falls landmarks. And for those of you who don't know, that's where their name comes from, right? Honeymoon capital of the world.
It's cool, like getting this and like the history, like that's where they started, that's where they're from, and then kind of going back, like you said, and seeing, oh yeah, that was in the original album sleeve, and there's that part in the video. It's cool. Like go back and you kind of pick up, it's almost like they were leaving clues along the way. So yeah, really neat. Yeah.
And the reason, and Derek Green has said that this was on purpose. They wanted people to know they're back using their original logo. They wanted people to know this is a return to form.
Yeah.
It's black and white. There's a little bit of color in it, but he wanted a black and white photo because the big prize has a black and white photo on it.
Yeah. Another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And I think, let me look at this in credits here one more time. Even the production on this album, it doesn't sound like their first album, but it was produced by the same guy, Tom Tremuth, who also produced the first 3 major label Helix albums, produced a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right, he did. Yeah,
in Canada. So good sounding album, great songs, and glad to have it on vinyl. But it's a little bit different. This is what the back cover looks like. It's got a couple of bonus acoustic songs on it, "Ordinary" and "Sitting in the Garden." And I think they're new recordings. They're relatively new recordings.
Yeah, made special for this release.
Release, yeah. And just getting back to the personnel thing, oddly enough, even though Ray Coburn left the band and Peter Nunn came back on keyboards, I actually saw Ray earlier this year because he was playing keyboards for Kim Mitchell.
Oh, that's right. I remember you'd mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that. He just cut his hair all off, and I remember sitting there. Not sitting there, but standing watching, and they get on stage, and I'm like, who's that guy playing keyboards? He looks so familiar. And I thought, that's Ray Coburn. And sure enough, later on, Kim introduced the band.
Wow.
That's Coburn, who I guess his main gig has been playing keyboards for Roger Hodgson, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So,
cool. So I was thinking when I first ordered this, it seemed expensive to me.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned before, I said I'm not making the mistake I made with the hands up vinyl. I want this on vinyl, and I'm glad I did.
100%. I feel the same. It's gonna be just like the EP. Like when this is done, this is done. So same thing. I said I gotta grab this.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different. I remember thinking, boy, I wish I could just order the vinyl. I don't need the CD again per se, but there didn't seem to be another option. And then when I got it, I understood why, because the CD just comes in this sleeve. I'm like, okay, well, that's different. And then the credits, some of the credits are the original credits. Some of them are newer. It's cool to have the inner stuff here, like in a bigger form, and the record itself. And some of you were thinking, Tim, you opened this? No, it came, it came, in a sleeve that you could open. It's got one of those with a sticky sleeve on it. I don't like those because I find they'll stick in places you don't want them to. So I just replace it with a regular sleeve. So here's the vinyl. It's just one record, and the vinyl is hold on, I don't want to get fingerprints on this. Okay, comes out the top. There we go. It's this orange splatter vinyl.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks cool. It's really thick. So this is what I like about it, and for the most part, this is going to be a positive. But there are a few things that I'm left kind of scratching my head, and I'm sure you noticed this right away too, Chez. One, the order of the songs is totally different.
Yep.
Totally different song order, and you get used to hearing songs in their original order. One ends in your mind, you can hear the next one starting. The album's entirety, and they left off a song.
Yes, I again, it's one of those situations. after I played it, I thought, did I miss it? And it wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, the song "Down to Business" is not on there. I don't know why. It's a perfectly good song. It didn't stand out on the original album as sounding, well, that's kind of out of character. Like, it just sounded like another song. I don't know why they didn't include everything that was. So, the acoustic songs are good, but why didn't they? I've never understood reissues where they take things away. Like,
Yeah.
to me, reissues are supposed to be adding things. But so,
Yeah.
for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm going to read the original track listing. She Ain't All Right. Oh, great opener. And right away, they're back, and it's Honeymoon Suite. That's Derry, his guitar, the way he would come up with guitar licks. Tired of Waiting on You. If that had come out in the 80s, that would have been we'd be hearing that on Canadian rock radio to this day. It's
100%.
Yeah, just sums up what's great about them.
That's a great chorus on that song.
Yeah, hard rocking yet melodic, and Riffola is a funny one. I'm guessing it was a working title that stuck. It has nothing to do with, even though it does have an awesome drop D riff in it. Ordinary, I think they pushed as a single. It's a nice song. The House, which is a cool song. It's autobiographical for Derry. Why Should I like, because if you read the lyrics to that one, it's almost like Derry and Johnny, who are the only standbys that have been in the band the whole time. It's almost like one trying to convince the other, come on, man, let's keep going. Because if you don't care, then why should I? Then there's the aforementioned Down to Business. Sunday Morning's a nice sort of a mellow mid-tempo one. That's All You Got's another hard rocker. That's a good one. Restless is another ballad. Separate Lives is a slower, bluesier one, as is Sitting in the Garden. Now, my understanding, I don't know if it's Separate Lives or Sitting in the Garden, Chez, but internationally, I think one of those songs was missing from the original.
Yeah, it escapes me which one it is, but I believe you're correct on that one. Yeah, great songs.
So, yeah, both good songs, and I like the fact that unlike some cases, the Canadian, they're Canadian band, and we get all the songs.
Yeah.
It's not like Japan gets all the songs or UK get all the songs.
Finally, it's all for us. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here's the order of the songs on the record. And by the way, those two acoustic songs aren't on the CD. They're just, I don't think, or they are on the CD. They're not on the vinyl. So.
Yeah, just on the CD there. Yep.
Yeah. So side A is, they start off with The House. So right away they're changing the, Riffola, That's All You Got, Why Should I, and Ordinary. Totally different. Side B is She Ain't All Right, Sunday Morning, Tired of Waiting. They didn't call it Tired of Waiting on You. Restless, Separate Lives, and Sitting in the Garden. Looking at it this way and the way they're written, I realize, boy, there are a lot of songs that start with S on this album.
Yeah.
But so I ripped the CD, to my laptop like I normally do, to get the new, the remaster, whatever. Listen to it. Yeah. And I listened to it and I thought, this just sounds, I'm not going to be listening to that version of it. I'm so used to the original track listing. It's just, I don't know about you, but it just throws me off when I hear these songs out of order. It's like, it's literally like they just put it on shuffle, and that's the order that it came out in.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like one of those things where I'm not, I don't know this for a fact, but if this is how they originally wanted it for some reason, but then again, like they were kind of, they were the two guys there. So you would think they would have had it that way in the first place, but maybe if something like that, maybe kind of going back, they always thought, this is kind of like the order we wanted it, or because it was remixed. So I do believe this is remixed, right? It does say that in there. Yeah. Maybe they just thought, because it is remixed, and maybe they thought, just kind of bringing it up to date a little bit. It sounds fantastic, and I have played the vinyl a couple times. Sounds great. But you wonder if it's just like they thought, maybe just because it's new and we're calling it Revisited, let's kind of change it up a bit. Like Coverdale did that on
Good to Be Bad.
And The Slip of the Tongue. Yeah, both of those. He changed the order, and people were saying, why to do that? And he said, well, it's I think his remark was in his interview, well, it's reissue, it's a Revisited, so it's my chance to do this idea I've always had. So maybe it was something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's of course, a famous example of that is Music from the Elder by Kiss, where there's the concept order, and then there's the order most people are used to. which is the one that I prefer. But yeah, but listen, whatever order they're in, this is not a concept album at all. They're great songs, and
Yeah.
it's really cool to see this on a vinyl, because
Yeah.
and I like the fact that they did redo the art. This is not they didn't take the CD cover and blow it up. It's not pixelated. It's really well done. And I gotta say, it's weird to have this multimedia, have the CD house there.
And I was like you, when I ordered it, I was expecting to get the album and a CD, like a jewel case. I was hoping for, or at least a digipack.
Yeah.
And then you got yours ahead of mine, and you said, just to let you know, it kind of comes in there, right? And sure enough, it's fine. It's great. I think the standalone CD is going to be available on the website, I think this summer sometime. So I think, that will be again. I think it's just what you're saying. I don't know if this is going to be available. I know for sure the vinyl will not be available. I think that's going to be a strictly when they're gone, they're gone. I don't even know if the CD, when it comes out, I don't wonder if that'll be available in stores, but they did say they're going to release that in the summer. Like pre-orders for that'll come up. So yeah, I was thinking like you, but it's all good. It's there, and it kind of makes the package a little bit different, and just so happy to have that on vinyl.
Yeah. And the really funny thing is, I would have been really embarrassed to because as most people know, I don't I don't listen to my vinyl. I don't have a record player per se, so I keep my vinyl in the wrap. I open the CDs. That's just how I do it.
Yeah.
And if this had come actually all sealed up, I probably would have emailed Rock Paper Merch and said, "Hey, you forgot my CD."
Yeah.
No, dummy, open it up. And
so
I'm glad that it came the way it did, because I was like, there's no CD in this box, and because I was expecting a little digipack, because that's how Hands Up came. And then so I opened it up and okay, so there it is. So there it is. I mean, I'm glad it's made available again. Hopefully they at least keep the CD in print, because it's a great album, and I think that it because it was a smaller label, and 2008 for me personally was a fantastic year for new albums, and new albums by bands who hadn't been heard from for a while. The other big example is Extreme, when they came up with Sauvage de Rock, and a similar situation. That's hard to find now. That's all you get are used copies now.
You can't get reissue. Yeah, you wonder, they've got that new album out, so maybe that's going to come down the road. But yeah, you can't find that if like when these new albums come out, quite often people go back and they'll get like the back catalog. If they're looking for that one, that's nowhere to be found, except very expensive. I bought that on release day, just like you. Yeah. So
yeah. And you never know, right? Because on release day, it's just priced the way a normal CD would be. But the late tax will get you if you don't get it. Yeah. And plus, now you're taking a chance. You're paying more money for a used CD. Yeah. And most of the time it's okay. Most sellers are really good about it, but there's always that chance you'll get it and it'll skip. So yeah, these albums deserve a wider release. It's a shame that that Honeymoon Suite is a band that they haven't had that like Warner Music of Canada hasn't stepped in and said, you know what, guys, we're going to put out your entire catalog. We're going to keep it available. We're going to keep it in stores, right?
Because right now,
from indie label to indie label, and they deserve better.
Yeah, because right now, like Rock Candy's got the first 4 albums like reissued. Like you can get them through them, but exactly like you said, like if Warner were to re-release the whole catalog, and that would be fantastic, So
just make those part of the catalog, or if they could end up getting the rights to all of that music and put it out themselves. Like a band like Metallica has done, and just just sell directly to fans. It would be really cool. And speaking of reissues that take things away, if anybody's just getting into the band, most of the time I would highly recommend getting the Rock Candy reissues of the albums. Do not get the Rock Candy reissue of Racing After Midnight unless you want to read the liner notes, because they left Lethal Weapon off of it, which doesn't make any sense. Like, don't give us more, or don't give us less, give us more.
I don't understand. It's happened a couple times. Those songs that are from movies, they're on the original album. Like it's on my original cassette, right? And it's on my single CD. So I've got it on those formats. when I got that Rock Candy, first thing I noticed, where's that Lethal Weapon song? It's something about the songs that are movies. It's the same thing like when those TV shows get released and they had like music and TV shows, they just have to take
WKRP is
out.
like the most famous example, right?
Classic. It's like it's something about once it's on that original run, any kind of re-release, like those movie companies, they kind of hold the rights to that and they're just not letting it go, or they're asking way too much money for it. But yeah, first thing I noticed. So yeah, thankful I still got my original cassette and my single CD. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and because you can still get the singles or the essentials, so you can get the song. So if you've already got that Rock Candy CD, you're like, well, now I have to buy the original Racing After Midnight. If you don't have any of their compilations, it's on there. But yeah, it's to see a CD that came out in 1988 with only 9 songs on it is kind of like, huh? It doesn't make any sense. And in the case of that, I understand the whole movie studio thing because, yeah, you're not just dealing with a record label, you're dealing with the movie studio. But if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, in the case of Lethal Weapon, you got to license the music from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, Warner Brothers put the movie and the soundtrack out, so it's not like it's a Touchstone movie, and you got to or it's a Paramount or something. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but
I'm like you with that. When I listen to that album, I'm expecting that song to be in that order, right? So it's the same thing that, and just kind of go back how they never kind of broke. So they were right there, I figured, because there they are, big Hollywood movie, and they're got the title song in it, right? And again, they were being played all over the radio in the States. So it's, wondering how they never really took off like they did in Canada. But, because here's the thing, like one thing I want to mention, like, and you really hear it on this reissue and all the other albums, Derry's guitar playing and soloing, like, nobody talks about what a fantastic guitar player he is. I love his solos. They stand out on all the albums. Like this album here, chock full of great solos, melodic solos. And he's a guy that nobody really talks about. Like we talk about him because we know the band so well. But when people sit down and listen, he's a fantastic guitar player, which I think should get his due. And nobody really talks about him. I think he's fantastic. Same thing with Johnny's vocals. Great melodic rock vocals. And I just think, like what you said, when people if they give him a chance, like if you've never been into the band, I think you're going to notice those two things,
Yeah. And distinct vocals too. Like you don't mistake him for anyone else. He's got a really unique vocal sound. And it's a cool sound. It sounds great on the radio. Like it's just, again, the stars were almost aligning. Yeah. And Derry, no exaggeration. I mean, he's like the Eddie Van Halen of Canada, because not only is he can come up with great guitar parts, but really cool melodic solos that you remember. Yeah, he's got all the chops. He can play really fast. Yeah. You can sing the solos. And sometimes he knows when to just keep it simple. Again, like Tired of Waiting on You. It's got a really, really quick, just a few notes, but just enough to break the song up before it goes back to the final chorus. And smart, like able to put songs together that just work in a melodic sense. It's been said, I think one of the things that might have kept them from just reaching that next level is the fact that I believe when they were recording Racing After Midnight, Johnny was in a motorcycle accident.
Yes, that's right. And I remember that.
They put Lethal Weapon out, which, if I'm honest, it's a Michael Kamen song. They didn't write it.
Yeah.
It's not at all what I would have expected. If somebody's thinking, if they know a little bit about Honeymoon Suite, and they do the title song from the first Lethal Weapon movie, if anyone's expecting like a Danger Zone or more rocking song, that's not what you get. It's kind of a dark ballad. Yeah, so maybe it wasn't the right song for the movie. It fit the theme of the movie really, really well, and I like the song, but also they didn't capitalize on it. Like there wasn't an album that came out 3 months after that, because that came out in like the spring of '87, and Racing After Midnight didn't come out for another year. If they'd had that Lethal Weapon song out when the movie came out, and then the beginning of the summer '87, they came out with the album and Love Changes Everything, it could have been a much different story. But
100%,
they remain. They're still out there doing it. Give them credit for that. I'd go see them again if they played around here. They're just great song after great song after great song. I'm glad they made this one more widely available. It deserves that wider audience. So there you go. And hopefully you know, Chez and I can be sitting here talking to you about a new HMS album at some
Yeah,
point. I'm
love
all
it.
for it. So,
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
so Chez, if you had to recommend, other than a compilation, if you had to recommend someone to start with one HMS album, where would you recommend they start?
For me, it's the big prize. To me, like that is like 10 out of 10. Every single song is fantastic. A lot of them were played on the radio here in Canada. But like I said, the States were playing Feel It Again. That was in their rotation. But to me, that's the one. It shows, like, I like all their albums, but that's the one, like 10 out of 10. Love every song on it. You got a ballad. Again, you got those great guitar solos, melodic vocals, those great sing-along choruses. Just a great car album, you know. So to me, that's the one I would recommend to start off on, and then that's the one that's going to get you say, hey, what was the first one like? You know, what was the next one like? That's the one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Big Prize is just, it's for me, it's just one of those perfect albums. There's a reason that John Bon Jovi heard this album
Yeah.
and said, let's go to Vancouver and work with Bruce Fairbairn and Bob Rock. You know,
yeah,
they don't,
there's that great story by Bon Jovi hearing that album saying, oh, I want Slippery to sound like this, you know?
Yeah, got that big drum sound, and you know, it's a three-way story. Because I've heard, you know, and it's probably a little bit of truth in all of them. I've heard it's the Big Prize. I've heard it's the second Black and Blue album, Without Love, which was also recorded.
I didn't hear that part about the Black and Blue.
I've also heard that one. And I've also heard that he asked Mike Reno from Loverboy, who's one of the first big bands to work with Bruce Fairbairn. Although those first three Loverboy albums, I like them. They don't sound like that. He didn't have that big boomy drum sound at that point. But I mean, he became a name producer because of that. And of course, Bob Rock, his engineer, eventually went on to produce, you know, be a producer in his own right. So yeah, it's a world-class sounding album. I think every song on it is amazing. Racing After Midnight is right behind it for me.
Some great deep cuts on that Racing After Midnight that a lot of people probably never heard before. So that's another great one. Yeah.
Other Side of Midnight and oh yeah, Tears on the Page.
Tears. I was going to mention Tears on a Page, like that. If that was played, that would have been like a huge hit on the radio.
That should have been a single. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, I agree with what they put out as singles, but that should have been a single.
Yeah, fantastic song. And even the one Monsters Under My Bed, there's an album a lot of people don't know about. I just played that the other day, just kind of to get ready for this episode. What a great album, and so many great songs on that one. It just kind of showcased like they were just getting better, you know?
Yeah.
It's a
shame that it probably took a little long to come out. It didn't come out till fall '91. Of course, melodic rock was not.
It came in at that point where, you know, these kinds of bands that we were into were struggling, you know, to get that airplay, you know. Fantastic album.
It wasn't on it was on Warner in Canada and in Germany, because that's where my vinyl came from, but not in the States. They had lost their US deal. And you know, we could speculate for days about why. You know, there's lots of bands that coulda, shoulda, woulda, but really these guys, I think, had all the right moves. You know, they had the looks, they had the songs, they had really big tours. I mean, on that Big Prize, they opened for Journey, and they I think they opened for Heart. Like, they opened for bands that were doing well, and bands that were perfect, whose audiences should have been receptive. And also, they're the type of band that they could have opened for Def Leppard, they could have opened for Bon Jovi, they could open for Van Halen. You know, versatile enough, but you know, just timing and timing is so much. But like I said, it remains the catalog. Those early albums, especially, you can get them. Do yourself a favor and check them out. If you like all the bands that we've mentioned, you've never heard Honeymoon Suite, by all means. But and if you like what you hear, make your way to this album. Don't wait too long before you don't sleep on Clifton Hill.
Exactly. It's a perfect compliment to the rest of their catalog, and it's so cool. Like it just kind of came out of nowhere. It's just like I saw it and said, "Wow, look at this!" And right on it, you know. So
just you know. One of my favorite albums from a classic band that came out in the 2000s, easily.
Fantastic. Yeah, great stuff.
So Chez, thank you for sitting in once again. And
Yeah, thank you, Tim. This was great.
Sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, hopefully we can do this, talk about some brand new songs and give our 2 cents on that. So yeah,
Sure.
check out, guys, Honeymoon Suite. Sometime I think they're I think the website's honeymoonsuite.net. Could be wrong about that. A quick Google search will fix that up. But
Yeah.
Rock Paper Merch. I mean, I've been on Rock Paper Merch. I've gotten stuff for Coney Hatch, for April Wine, Helix. You know, so
lot of good stuff on that site. So I'm on there quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, you know, obviously it's a reliable site. So there you go.
Mhm.
So there you go. That's our Clifton Hill Revisited sort of a look back and at the latest version and the first time ever on vinyl. So thanks everyone for watching this episode. If you want to know more about Honeymoon Suite, do yourself a favor. You're in for a treat. Thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
Thanks, Tim.